The year is 1857, a very different India. It's been 100 years since the East India Company began its rule. But nobody is happy. The kings and queens are powerless, the farmers are exploited, and the soldiers are restless. Around April and May, things happen. 85 soldiers in Meerut decide to rebel. All of them are court-martialed and thrown into jail. Their sentence? 10 years on chain, which basically means really hard labor in jail. But do you know what happened? The soldiers never served that sentence because on that same day, the 10th of May, they were broken out. Their fellow soldiers, or Sepoys as the British called them, had joined in. What followed is one of the most important chapters in Indian history, the First War of Indian Independence. But the British don't call it that. In their history books, it's a mutiny, the Great Mutiny of 1857, that's what they call it. It really scared the East India Company. They thought it was game over for them. But just months ago, something else had given them an even bigger scare, something that set the stage for the 1857 War of Independence. Do you know what? Maybe you're eating it right now. I'm talking about the chapati, roti. In 1857, it was giving the British sleepless nights. How? Time for a flashback. It's February 1857. The Sepoy Revolt is still months away, but a British magistrate is about to get the surprise of his life. His name was Mark Thornwill. He was posted here in Mathura. One day he found something strange on his table. 4 pieces of roti or chapati. They were dirty, chunky and mysterious. But where did they come from? Apparently a man came from the jungle and handed them to the village chief. Strange, right? Thornwill thought so too. The man from the jungle also had instructions. Make 4 more chapatis and take them to the next village. Sort of like a pyramid scheme. The British magistrate got curious. He ordered a discreet inquiry into the incident and guess what he found? It wasn't just Mathura. These chapatis were going all over the place. From the Narmada river in the south, all the way up to Nepal in the north. We're talking about thousands of chapatis here. Indore got them. Gwalior got them. So did Delhi, Rohilkhand, Avadh and Allahabad. They were everywhere and they were moving fast, almost 300 kilometers every single night. And that speed worried the East India Company. Why? Because even their mail was not that fast. We still don't know where the chapati movement started, but we do know how it unfolded. The transportation was mostly done at night. Night guards or chowkidars would take chapatis from village to village. Often there were accompaniments like lotus flowers or goat flesh. They also gave instructions. Make more of the chapatis and pass them on. Now imagine you're a British official in 1857 India. You see mysterious chapatis going around. Chances are you're terrified. Maybe you think it's a conspiracy. There are 100,000 of you versus 250 million Indians. Those are not good odds anywhere. So the British tried to investigate the chapatis. They examined them for secret codes or letters. No luck. These were plain old chapatis. They tried grilling the night guards or chowkidars. Again, no luck. It was as if the whole country was in on the mystery. British officers were confused and helpless. One such confused Brit was Army Surgeon Gilbert Hadow. He wrote to his sister about the chapatis. No one seems to know the meaning of it. It is not known whether it is connected with any religious ceremony or whether it has to do with some secret society. Full marks for imagination, we say. Or should we say paranoia? To understand the chapati movement, we must understand India's mood in 1857. Trust is zero, fear is maximum, so rumors were traveling faster than chapatis. One rumor was this, that foreign rule in India would end 100 years after the Battle of Plassey. And when was that? 1757. That's when the Battle of Plassey was fought. So exactly 100 years had passed. There was an air of expectation. The British thought something big was about to happen. Maybe that fear got the better of them. And speaking of fears, Indians had one too. And this is theory number 2. They feared that the British were hell-bent on destroying the faith of Hindus and Muslims. And this one is partially true. The British did love conversions. So rumors spread that cow and pig bones were being mixed into flour. Now, cow we know is holy for Hindus. Pigs are taboo for Muslims. The solution? Make and dispatch your own chapatis. A third theory is about cholera. There was a big outbreak around this time. So the Chapati movement may have been an attempt to distribute food, nothing sinister or secretive, just a humanitarian mission. And finally, there's theory number 4. Perhaps the Chapatis were secret messages. Seems far-fetched though. The mood of 1857 gave life to the Chapati movement. The British did not understand what it meant. They did not even try to understand. It was easy to just call it a mystery. Even easier after the fighting broke out, the revolt. Like wheat flour, the issue here was cartridges. Have you seen the special casing which holds bullets? Those are called cartridges. Just a year ago, the British had introduced a new firearm in India, the Enfield rifle. Its cartridge had a problem, or rather, a rumoured problem. It was apparently greased with cow and pig fat. To open the casing, soldiers had to use their teeth. Hindus and Muslims were outraged. All it took was one brave man to stand up. His name was Mangal Panday. He was stationed in Barrackpore at the time. Mangal Panday asked his fellow soldiers to revolt. He also attacked 2 European officers. I'm sure you know how this story ends. Mangal Panday was captured, tried and executed, but his death was like a trigger. Days later, the soldiers rebelled in Meerut. Soon the old kings and queens joined in. The East India Company was shaken to the core. The soldiers even managed to capture Delhi. They held on until September that year. After that, the tide turned though. More British troops came and the revolt was crushed. These events added to the mystery of the Chapatis. The British were convinced that the two were related. Well, maybe they were. But the overwhelming consensus is this. It was just British paranoia, maybe even racism. Just think about it. Why would Indians use chapatis to spread political messages? Why not letters or newspapers? The British perhaps couldn't stomach the idea. They thought the chapati was best for the illiterate rebels. The written word was too sophisticated for them. Thus, the humble chapati became a colonial obsession, a mystery for historians across 2 centuries. I guess we can never be 100% sure of what this movement was about, but one thing is clear, the events of 1857 transformed India. The East India Company was gone, the British Crown would rule directly now. It's been 166 years since the events of 1857. The chapati doesn't scare the British anymore, or at least we hope so. But for many Indians, it's still a nightmare. We are traumatized every time we see that dreaded item on British menus and recipes. Chapati bread, they call it. Doesn't make any sense, really. Chapati already means a type of bread. So maybe go ahead and correct them and tell the story of their chapati dread in 1857.